Welcome back to the opening trade. We're about 43 minutes into today's session, seeing a little bit of a mixed picture when you look at what the indexes are doing. Some outperformance right here in the K and the FTSE 100. But it feels like right now, as we're navigating some of these policy implications, even the monetary policy as well, it really is the geopolitics that are an overhang over it all. We have the perfect guest to talk about just that. Joining us now, Matteo Renzi, former Italian Prime Minister and leader of centrist political party Italia Viva. A pleasure to have you around the table this morning.
It's a pleasure.
I'm tempted to ask you about the States, but we'll put a pin in that for just a moment. I want to talk about Italian spreads at the moment. They have historically underperformed the likes of France, Spain, Germany, of course. Right now, they're doing really, really well. How much of that is a credit to Giorgia Meloni?
I believe there is a stability in Italy, and that is very strange because probably Italy was the worst country for stability in the past. And now, paradoxically, we have a chaos in France, an instability in a lot of the European countries, and Italy is good. That is a good message for markets. I'm at opposition to Giorgia Meloni. She's a leader of a different party, but I respect my country, and I think also for investors, this is a good time to invest in Italy and also to move residency. Fiscal residents, a lot of fiscal residents decide to move from different countries and to move to Roma. Then I will continue to fight against Georgia in my country, but as Italian, I'm very happy about the stability of my country.
I mean, you would say that, wouldn't you? You're Italian. Let's talk then about the fact that Italy is doing so well and is that beacon of stability at the moment, relative stability, I will say. I feel like it's putting Giorgia Meloni on an international stage, giving her a lot more say in international politics than maybe traditionally in the past. I'm curious when you compare that to the likes of France and what's going on with Emmanuel Macron. Is France then losing its position on the international stage because of its finances?
No, I think not. We have to be very frank and honest. That is a little exaggerated. Emmanuel Macron won his gamble. A very complicated, very chaotic situation in France, but Emmanuel Macron decided to accelerate the call early elections because that was the only solution for him. Without this decision, the risk for Macron was lose the majority in the Assemblée Nationale in September for a complicated rules of the French situation. So now Macron won with a very Machiavellic, if we think about Italian history, it's a very Machiavellic operation. It was great in that. Now there is a government not easy to do, but there is Emmanuel Macron very strong in the international stage. For Giorgia Meloni, the problem, she have an alliance in Europe very wrong. And for that, she was out of the top jobs in the European Commission debate. So she's stable in Italy, but she's not so strong and relevant in Europe.
Has she charted a path, though, Meloni, for the right? She's shown how it can be done. She's been elected with that strong mandate domestically in Italy, with that right-wing rhetoric and those policies. Then she's adjusted. She has shown the playbook for how the right can follow.
I believe in Europe, right lost our traditional family because, you know, Orban and other friends of Orban decide to create a new parliamentarian group. And Meloni was isolated, absolutely alone. It's interesting to understand why that happened. That happened because Orban, Salvini, Vox and others have a platform very near to Russian positions, and Meloni maintained a position very pro-USA and pro-Western alliance. So I think the decision of Giorgia Meloni in this case is absolutely correct. But today, if you look at the numbers of European Parliament, the far right is so divided, and I believe if you look at the results of European election, a lot of journalists and also politicians, now it's time of far-right new government. No. In Europe, everything remains exactly as last time.
You don't feel lonely as a centrist?
The centrists, it's complicated. Centrism is the key to win the elections. Also in the time of extremists, also in the time of populism and sovereignism. But the problem is the way. For example, in UK, when Starmer decided to have a different platform with respect to Jeremy Corbyn or Ed Miliband, he won election.
34% of the vote. Almost
Yes.
70% of the vote went elsewhere.
And
in the UK.
the reason of victory in UK is the change of platform for Labour, and at the same time, I think the presence of Nigel Farage in a position who reduced the number of votes for Conservative Party. But that depends on the single electoral law. And for that is important to be Machiavellic, because if Emmanuel Macron won his gamble is exactly because he used the second round. In the first round, Marine Le Pen won, but in the French system it's different. Meloni won in Italy because there is only one system. In case of 2 rounds of election, Meloni lost last election. So it's very complicated for the people who look at the politics, but every choice of politician today have to be focused on the single institutional instruments of the single country. And we don't open for the moment the door of America election and America.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get there.
We'll get to that door in just a
Right.
moment. But just on Keir Starmer, how confident are you in his promises on growth, this 2.5% growth target? You've been hanging out with Tony Blair. Do you think that Starmer can be Tony Blair Mark II?
I believe Tony Blair was one of the greatest leaders around the world in terms of delivery and capacity to have a vision for the future of his country with a new Labour, and a source of inspiration for a lot of leaders. Myself and a lot of other leaders try to copy the experience of New Labour between 1997 to 2008. For Starmer, it's not easy, but yesterday Tony Blair Institute organized a very good conference called Future Britain, and in that conference Blair tried to explain some possible opportunities to increase GDP and to use artificial intelligence and in general technology as the key instrument to change productivity, to invest in the future. Technology is not an instrument of fear. Technology is the best ally we have as politicians.
But can it get the growth?
I believe artificial intelligence could be the key for the growth, for the employment. I believe it's very interesting the discussion about healthcare, particularly in UK, but not only in UK, because with a long expectation of life that is beautiful, that is good, a change in the expectation of life, we have to invest in a new healthcare system. But also artificial intelligence and in general innovation have to change the modality of use healthcare and to manage healthcare. At the same time, we have a great necessity to invest in new technologies and create an ecosystem for venture capital, for innovation. So I believe the growth of GDP is possible, is a great ambition plan. In general, I think, particularly this part of the world, Europe and UK, have a problem with the crisis of demography, more in Italy, more in Germany. In Italy, we are in front of not a decline of demography, a collapse. If you think it is without benchmark possible. When I was born in 1975, 1.1 million of new babies born every day. Now, 0.4 million. 1.1 million.
Are you suggesting more immigration for Italy is needed?
I believe the real problem of Italy is not immigration. Also, if the far right continue to push in this direction, the problem is immigration. The people who leave Italy, the young people who stay now in London, who stay in the United States, after graduation, after they finish all the studies, they decided to leave Italy. That is our problem today. And I think we have to change the modality to give the message about Italy. Italy have to become a lab and not a museum.
But the immigration conversation that you're talking about, the demographic conversation you're talking about, is something that applies in every part of the world, including the United States. You've been very vocal, and I have to bring it back to this conversation for time. You've been very vocal about what the possible result of this U.S. election may look like. You've worked with Barack Obama. You've worked with Joe Biden in your time in office as well. You've publicly said that Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes to win this election. Who does?
I have great friendship and admiration for Joe Biden, for his personal life.
Yeah.
I believe he was a great man in terms of public service. I have I pay a tribute of gratitude for the job he did when I was Prime Minister and he was Vice President. So I'm a friend of Joe Biden. I think that it's time for him to leave because we know, particularly after the terrible debate on CNN 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it's clear the message. The people don't look the reality, don't look the facts, don't look the quotes of President Trump. The people look the situation, the physical situation of Joe Biden.
But
and for that, I think he have to leave.
Who does he leave in favor of? Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom? Is there a name that you would replace him with?
I think I'm the last one to give him a name. But if you ask me about a skill and an idea, I think for Democrats, in case of resignation, in case of not new candidature of President Biden, the only possibility, for my humble opinion, is choice a man or woman out of the box. Not Kamala, because also polls
show...
So
a business leader, then, you're
maybe.
saying?
Why not?
Like a Democratic version of Trump.
If you think about, if you find a leader of financial world, business world, also governor, able to give a message very, very strong, I'm ready to defeat Trump in economy, that could be a great asset for the electoral campaign. Of course, we have 5 weeks before the convention in Chicago of Democrat. And I'm not sure that could be possible.
You specified the economy. I'm putting you on the spot here, 20 seconds. Would Trump be good for the economy?
The only thing predictable with Trump is unpredictable, his presidency. Because Trump is able to do every type of agreement.
Yeah.
You know what he did in the foreign politics. He's ready to do everything he consider right in his mind. So I'm not in condition to have a prediction, but I believe nobody could predict what Trump could do. And that is not necessarily a good thing.
Matteo Renzi, we'll leave it there. Former Italian Prime Minister and leader of centrist political party Italia Viva, giving us his thoughts